If you put 300 euros aside every single month for the next 15 years, here's what would happen. If you're new here, hi, I'm V. I'm a 26-year-old with a six-figure net worth, and I'm on a mission to make personal finance concepts more accessible, so follow along. Now, 300 euros for the next 15 years will amount to about 54,000 euros, but the value of that money will actually depend on where you put it. Here are 4 different scenarios of that money and how it will actually work. Scenario number 1 is you take that money and put that into a current account. Now, the value of that money will be 54,000 euros in 15 years. However, if you take into account the inflation in Ireland, which sits at about 2 to 3% currently, the actual value of that will be about 40,000 euros. Now, let's take scenario number 2, which is you put that money into a HISA account, a high yield savings account, and we're going to assume that you get a return of about 3%. Now, on paper, you're going to hit 68,000 euros. However, because revenue actually has the 33% dirt tax, you're going to walk away with 63,000 euros in total. Now let's talk about investments. Assuming that you take that money and put that into an ETF like Vanguard or S&P 500, and we're going to assume a rate of return of 10% here, which is what the historical rate of return has been. In that scenario, assuming a 10% rate of return, you're going to end up with about 120k. However, there is some taxes involved here as well. Now, because this is an ETF, you're going to pay the 38% exit tax and also the 8-year deemed disposal rule. So considering all of those different taxes, you're actually going to end up with about 93 to 95,000 euros. However, let's say you actually invest that money into individual stocks or investment trusts like JAM or FCIT, and assuming that the rate of return is also 10% here, you're still going to end up with 120k. However, because the tax rules are different for individual stocks and investment trusts, you're actually going to end up with a little bit more. So the taxes are actually 33%, and also there's no deemed disposal rule. Alongside that, there's also a 1270 per year allowance that you get, and so you're going to end up with about 100 to 105k in total if you put that money into individual stocks or investment trusts. Let's talk about my personal favorite, which is pensions. Now, pensions are a little bit complicated, so I'm going to make some assumptions here. Let's assume you are in a 20% tax bracket and you're okay to reduce your total take-home pay by 300 euros exactly. And so the tax relief that you get, and taking that into account, what you end up investing in pensions is not 300 euros, it's actually 375 euros, again, because of the tax relief you do get. And the final assumption is that you get a rate of return of about 7% in this pension fund. Now, taking into account all of these different assumptions, what you end up with is about 120k in 15 years. Now, of course, pensions are also taxed, but they are taxed differently depending on what age you access it, where you access it, etc. But I will make a separate video about it. So you can see how differently the value of the money would change depending on where you actually end up keeping the money. Now, since payday is coming around, let me know in the comments below what you're going to be investing in.